Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. I'm here with my brand new series on the Altenew Mini Delight subscription kit. I've already gotten December and January's, but here is February's. These Mini Delight subscriptions include a die set and a small stamp set, and they coordinate, they don't necessarily match. And I was looking to change it up this year, and I thought this Mini Delight subscription would be just the right thing to have a little bit of something new and fresh in my craft room every month. Right here is a look at the stamp set, and it is some jars that you can put the die cut florals in. Lots of little greetings, and then a little bit more botanicals that you can stamp for layering. Okay, I had a plan for this card, and the first iteration went very badly, so you'll see me jump through some of these steps a little bit later. But here is my plan. I'm going to use a circle punch to create a peekaboo window in the front of my card and layer up the florals so that when you open the card, you will see different layers. I've got some die cuts ready to go. I have cut all my foliage in white because I want to watercolor it. And when I watercolor, I usually use an ink pad so that I can coordinate my watercoloring colors with blending colors. So you'll see that happen later. Right now I'm trying to figure out Altenew's keyhole system, which is a shape that cuts into the pieces and you line up the shapes so that you know you've got your layering correct. I don't own a lot of Altenew products, so I'm not really familiar with this other than watching Jennifer McGuire explain it. So I had to figure it out in person. Now that I've got everything gathered together that coordinates and matches, I can work on my watercoloring. So I am just doing a really loosey-goosey watercoloring, and when the pieces are still wet, I will come back in and add extra color to just parts of it so that it will blend and spread. This is my old man cat, Jamie. Usually you see the younger cats on screen, but he joined me today. At any rate, I am doing that layering watercoloring with my stems, but you'll see it a lot better here when I do my florals. So I'm adding just a wash of general color to all of these to get started. And I am using my Altenew grip mats, but I tell you, I don't think I'm a fan of grip mats. I just want them to really stick down, and they don't. So here comes my finger to hold things down while I add that more intense color. And if you do it while things are still wet, it helps feather out the edges a little bit. Now, I did let the stems dry before I add this next layer of color because the foliage has some little lumps and bumps to it that looks like it could be flower buds, or you could just color the entire thing green. I think it's up to your interpretation. I wanted to add a little bit more color to these stems because it's gonna help add to the surprise of the peekaboo element of the card. Now what I should have done was also watercolor the back sides of one of these foliage pieces, because you'll see later that I missed it, and you'll see what happens if you do that. At any rate, I am letting everything dry while I move on to other parts. The die set came with this teeny tiny tag and this little kind of twine piece that's made to tie around the neck of the jar, and I find that to be just such a cool little detail. And so I'm going to stamp the word "you" on that tag, and it's just doing a partial stamping from one of the sentiment sets. And then I can glue the tag to its layer, which adds a little tie to the tag and fills in the little tag hole. So that is quite a delicate little detail in this die that they've added. Here I am heat embossing the bottle, jar, vase, whatever you want to call it, with a white embossing powder. In my first iteration, I had used clear embossing powder because I really wanted that glassy look, but it wasn't reading very well. So then I tried adding some blue liquid drop products to it to give it more of a watery look, and then that was just gross looking. So this is take 2 of this jar, and I'm going for the white embossing powder so that it can stand out a little bit more on the rest of the card. All right, here is a part I skipped over. I held my jar in place and kind of got a sense of where I want it to be, and then I punched a hole. I think this is like a 1 1/4 inch circle into the front of my card so that that's going to create that peekaboo window. Now I can place this jar wherever I want it to be. I'm going to let it overlap the circle just a little bit, and while it's sitting in its position, I'm going to use a piece of tape to mask off parts of this card front so that I can do ink blending. And this is why I wanted to watercolor with my ink pads as well, so that the colors can coordinate. And here we go. Here's the reveal. I've created a bit of grounding for my bottle to sit on the front of the card. Now I'm going to mask off that grounding and I'm going to create a halo of color. I did debate if I wanted to do blue, but there's no blue anywhere else in the card, so I went ahead and used the yellow that I used for the center of my flowers and the little buds on my flower stem. All right, on the inside of the card, I am going to go ahead and do second gen stamping with the foliage stamp so that it adds just a little bit of texture behind the flowers. I think in the end I could have done a couple more of these because I do end up covering up quite a bit of this, and I would have wanted to see a little bit more of that. But you live and learn, and so I'm going to go ahead and move on. Here is a foliage bunch that will go on the inside, and you can start seeing it through the window. On the outside, I'm going to go ahead and glue my bottle down. Gluing vellum can be a challenge, so I try to hide the glue behind the embossing and tap off excess glue so it doesn't create squishy blobs. And then I'm going to put my second foliage in place on that window, and the glue that I've added to the bottle will help hold the stem down in place, and I will go back a little bit later and glue the bits of the foliage down. All right, now it is time to work on the inside, and I'm going to get that second piece of foliage lined up so that it exactly aligns with the front foliage, so you don't necessarily see the full piece there on the inside. And yes, I had problems with my stem, which I will go back and fix later, but for now I'm going to finish off the front of the card while the glue is drying on the inside. I've added my little twine, and I'm going to add the word hello also, so that with that little tag saying you, the front reads as hello you. Back on the inside, I have added an extra stem. I just die cut an extra piece and cut it off slightly below the buds so that I could extend the length of the stem also. And I'm going to add this little banner piece that I stamped with the U rock that I got the U off of from the sentiment stamp. And I add this little banner piece that curves over the top of the stems so that it looks like it's holding together a big bunch of flowers. And I know you can't see it very well on camera, but there is that slight texture of the botanical stamping behind it. All right, as I place my florals on the inside of my card, and this is where the kind of peekaboo surprise aspect comes in, I am trying to close the card as I go and look to see where the positioning of my flower will be in the window, and I don't mind giving just a little hint of color through that peekaboo window so that people know there's something going on inside, and when they open it up, they'll get the final surprise. All right, finishing off the card with a few sequins, and these are from my Crafty Advent Calendar from Spellbinders, and I really like the clear sequins. And there we go, there's a look at the inside. Now you can see my die cut through the window on the back side needs some watercoloring, so I might go back a little bit later and fix that. I just didn't think about it when I was doing my initial watercoloring. All right, a little bit of making sure everything is nice and secure, and then the card is finished. All right, I hope you appreciate something about this new Altenew Mini Delight series, and I hope you will join me for some more card making next month. Until then, I hope you have artful days.